Yay, day number 2. Hey guys, welcome back for day number 2 of the JumpStart Sales Challenge. I'm Teresa Bassett, your host for this week and CEO of the Diamond Group. And I'm super excited about day number 2. It's so amazing. Day 1 was Motion Day. And if you didn't have a chance to tune in yesterday, that's A-okay. We sent out the replay. And it is also available online and whatever platform you chose to log in. But it was quite amazing to me that just the simple act of claiming motion, putting it down on paper, the plan to get in motion, putting down my physical target, just started this whole engine humming at a different level. By the afternoon yesterday, we were already internally over here starting to feel a little different lift. And so it's so amazing. At the beginning of yesterday, we talked about how this whole Jumpstart Sales Challenge is because you are the heart. You're the emotional barometer, right? Your sales team is the emotional barometer of your entire business. And it really begins and ends with the energy over there and the energy in you as a result. And even if you have a sales team that you work right alongside, you as the founder and the owner, I mean, there really is a tremendous amount of responsibility to own your own energy in it. And so it's amazing how that energy, that energetic ripple effect is just so powerful. And this week really is all about that energy and how that energy transfers from thought and motion into mojo and momentum by the end of the week. And yes, money. Day number 4, we're going to talk about money because it's such an important form of energy in your business. Of course, sales drives the bus, right? And we work with small businesses. That's kind of our lane. And we love to work with small and medium-sized businesses that are looking for a sales and marketing system that doesn't rely on the founder. Right. And honestly, I mean, we're in the process of building this for ourselves, right? Marketing agencies are famous for working on, their own stuff last. And we're not just a marketing agency. The sales side of our business is super important. Talent development and magnetizing the right people to your team and developing that talent is super important to me as well. And all of those are marketing opportunities. Marketing is the bridge to more of the right conversations with team, external or internal team. And then sales, of course, is the process of converting those conversations into actionable service. And so, it's so exciting to me to be able to spend this week with you. We're going to talk about, we have so much more to come, but we did kick it off in style yesterday. And I do encourage you to go back and start from scratch. I actually got my camera flipped around this morning, which was progress. I just jumped right in with both feet and didn't even realize that until halfway into the broadcast yesterday. So that's how it goes, right? And it was a perfect example. I was telling my team of imperfect action is better than, a perfect, lack of action, right? So many times when we analyze to death and we don't start because we don't feel like we're ready. We don't start because we don't feel like we're prepared. And look, I'm a huge fan of preparedness and readiness. And I take action every day to be more prepared, to be more ready, and to do the hard work, the hard yards behind the scenes. So I'm not circumventing or, short circuiting that preparedness or that hard work. But I'm also a huge fan of diving in and getting some results so that you can iterate, right? And if you don't dive in, you don't get to that point where you can iterate because you're not getting the feedback yet, right? So if I had waited yesterday to be ready, then I would have pushed off the whole schedule. I would have let that resistance stop me. And we talked a little bit about resistance at the front end of breakthroughs, and I'm a huge fan of plowing through. Right. And today is mindset and the mental game, actually in that reverse order, the mental game and mindset day. And there's a real reason for those 2 words being in the title of this day. And we're going to talk about both of those because it's so important to get your head in the right place even before you share. your products and services with the marketplace, before you set your sales goals and as you're setting your targets for this 90-day sprint ahead, it's really important to get your head in the right place. And so we're going to talk about that today. And I'm kind of loving this morning action, to be honest. I'm a morning person. I've never done this early in the morning, but it's really jiving with my natural circadian rhythms, I think. And it made me think, maybe we need to start an AM club. I don't know. This is really early for the West Coast, but I'm kind of grooving on it. So more to come there, I'm sure, because there's just so much to talk about. And I think that as business owners and founders and entrepreneurs, it doesn't really matter what stage of business you're in. It doesn't matter if you're at the thought stage and you're planning a launch of something new, or if you're already 10 or 15 years into it, or maybe 30 years into it, and you just need a breath of fresh energy, a breath of fresh air, and you've been doing the same thing for a long time. And sometimes it feels like it's never going to be any different. Right. It doesn't really matter what stage of business you're in. Every stage, every season requires a different amount of encouragement and equipping. And that's my mission on the planet, here at the Diamond Group, and in the coaching work I do, and the talent development work, and the sales work, and the marketing work. I love to create progress equals happiness ladders of development. I love creating sustainable systems, and my mission is to equip and encourage leaders and their teams, and as a result, embolden them to take bigger steps, to think bigger about their businesses and their ventures. Research shows that only 9% of small businesses ever get to the 7-figure mark, and only 5% of women-owned businesses. And so, of course, like we're a majority women-owned business. And so I think that it is a huge gift and responsibility to help other business owners get over that 7-figure threshold. Now, if you're a builder, of course, and you're building $1 million homes, that takes one house, or 2 big projects, and you're well over that. And so every business has a little different price point, right? And as a result, every business has a different sales cycle, right? Length of sales cycle. And so this mental game piece and this mindset piece is super important, because the odds are actually, the deck is stacked to show that, the majority of folks never get over this hurdle, but it is possible. It's quite possible. Many people do it. I've done it multiple times. You can do it. And I feel like it's part of my job to help equip and encourage people to get over that threshold, because on the other side of that threshold, you've then created systems that don't all rely on you. You've started to empower other people on your team. And that's such a gift and a privilege to not only the people on your team, but the people that you impact in the marketplace. So every single one of you, no matter if you're in a healthcare business, a professional services business, construction, home services, those are all niches that we love to serve at the Diamond Group. But it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. You're all there because you have a product or a service that you brought to the marketplace that can truly help people. Right? If you're in construction and you build custom homes, I mean, that is such an amazing position, because you're creating homes for people where they can have their family memories, and they can create a life in those homes and truly foster wellness in those families. And that's amazing, right? That's an amazing gift. If you're a business broker, and you help people value their businesses and connect to, buyers or sellers, so that you can either grow through acquisition or maybe exit out of a legacy business, a family-owned business, and change generations of your family for years and years to come through the results of your hard work. That is such a cherished position to help people in, right? The majority of small businesses, over 86%, when the owner is ready to retire, they just close their doors. Right? And that's such a shame after 25, 30, 35, 40 years. And so, I think that irregardless of the industry that you're in, you're there because you have a unique purpose and and a mission to serve the people that you're uniquely qualified to serve. And so this mindset piece, this mental game piece is super important because you have to stay tapped in to that mission in order to really sell at the highest level. And yes, have no doubt, sales drives the bus, right? And so, yeah, we have to keep in mind, top line revenue, bottom line profitability are not the same thing. But if we don't have sales and we don't have recurring sales and we don't have regular sales and we don't have a sustained system, we don't have a business, right? We might have a fancy hobby, but we don't have a profitable business if we don't have top line revenue happening on a regular basis. And that creates a lot of stress in business owners because things rely on you, right? And I know from firsthand experience, we're going on our 30th year in business and we're not immune to that pain. We didn't get over that 7-figure threshold overnight. And it took a lot of determination, right? And there were probably lots of sleepless nights over payroll somewhere along the path. And my business partner, Kelly, husband, would share that sentiment with me. I know because he's firsthand and personal with the finances. And so, it's very personal to him and deeply affects his wellness and our wellness as a married couple in the business. And so sales, has been a hot topic for a long, long time in my life. And it's funny because I grew up in a family, very hard workers. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and my father was a welder, went on to do some sales in his later career, and my mother was a teacher, but both very hard workers. And for a long, long time, my dad said, Teresa, you should be in sales. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think that's for me. I went to grad school. I was going to teach college. I worked at the community college. I loved to write books and to read. And I thought academia was maybe my world for a long time. At one point, I thought maybe I'd be a lawyer. I didn't really know. I was more of a generalist than a specialist. But sales did not seem like I don't know, just didn't carry the weight. It wasn't the honorable profession that I thought that I was after, right? It wasn't until later that I realized that he was spot on. He was right. Not only was my personality and demeanor a great fit for sales, I learned that sales was about sharing and sales was about service. And then once I realized that sales was about sharing and about service, then it really clicked for me because that's honestly all I really wanted to do in my life. And at one point, I thought I might even do that through nonprofit work or service opportunities, even within the church in my early years. So I was really searching for a way to have a profession that allowed me to help and to serve. And sales was the farthest thing from my mind. Absolutely the farthest thing from my mind. It wasn't until I was a single mom raising 2 kids on my own and working in the world of academia. I was teaching community college. I was teaching humanities and critical thinking, ironically. And I would get to the end of the month and I had way more bills than I had paycheck. And it just really wasn't working. There was a day I came home with, my baby on my hip, my toddler, went up to my front door to unlock it. And, the heat was off. And it was because I wasn't able to pay my bill. And I was working really hard as a teacher. I was grading papers at night. I was literally nursing the baby, grading papers, in the middle of the night. So this was not about a lack of work. This was, I hadn't set myself up in a system that could really provide, a thriving livelihood for my family. And I had children to feed. And so I had to think outside the box. And somewhere in the back of my head, I remembered my dad saying, Teresa, you should try sales. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I have to do something different because, all of this wonderful intention to be in the world of academia, even though I loved the adult learners, I loved teaching students, I loved the material, I loved grading papers, I really loved all of it. but I didn't love getting home at the end of the day to my heat being turned off. And that really wasn't going to work for my children. Right. And so I had to consider something different. And so I remembered my dad saying that, and I actually went out and I was like, okay, well, darn it, I'm gonna try sales. Well, what am I going to sell? Well, the easiest job in sales to get for me, the quickest was to sell cars. So I went a few miles from my home and I went up to a Chevy dealership. I applied to a couple different dealerships, and they're like, do you have any sales experience? I'm like, nope. I've sold shoes when I was a teenager. I guess I worked in a shoe store. I was a server in a restaurant. I sold salsa at a Mexican place. Does that count? No. Well, we'll give you a shot, right? And so I got a job selling Chevys at a dealership near my house, and instantly started selling 10, 11 cars a month, which was our quota. And I was like, I was watching other people around me, and some of them would sell 4 or 5, and they were struggling to do that. And I thought, well, 10 or 11, that's not bad. It was obviously something was clicking. And about 6 months in, I had a record month and outsold every other veteran salesperson in the dealership, which they did not like at all, by the way. And the only woman flying around there selling cars, and sold 20 cars that month. And I got the biggest paycheck of my entire life. I think it was $10,500. And I had a $6,800 student loan bill still outstanding from my college days. And I was able to pay that bill off in one fell swoop. And I remember staying up at night, just, wondering, first of all, during that month, was it even possible for me to hit this magic 20 car limit threshold? Because if I hit the 20 cars, I would get a percentage of gross profit. If I hit 10 or 11, anything up to 20 was a flat fee. We made $100 or $150 per car. So it's a massive difference between selling 11 cars and selling 20. And when I started, there was a guy at the dealership, Vinny, and he helped me calculate what the commission would be. And he was like, Teresa, do you know that if you hit this 20, when you hit this 20 car limit, realize how much money that is? And I was like, no, what does that mean? Well, he'd been selling cars for, 28 years. So he knew exactly what it meant. So he did some quick, back of the napkin math and showed me what the number was. And he said, well, you need to go home and think about this. And now this was the middle of the month, and I had never sold 20 cars, at any month. And I really didn't think it was possible. But he had given me something to think about, because that money, $10,400 or $10,800, whatever that was life-changing to me. Remember 7 months earlier, I had come home to my heat being turned off because I couldn't pay a $200 bill or $115 bill. And so I didn't even think it was possible to bring home $10,000 in a month. I mean, I had never been exposed to that kind of money. Nobody had ever said, Teresa, you could make $10,000 in a month one time, someday. To me, that was just like, whoa. So when I went home to think about that, and I realized what impact that would have, I calculated it, and I realized I could pay off that student loan. And I mean, it's emotional just thinking about it, because not only could I pay off the student loan, I would have enough money to pay, my rent, my electric bill, my heat bill for months to come. And that was a really big deal to me. And so I ended up, after 24 hours of really praying and thinking about it, realizing that my why was really strong. And I was going to suspend my disbelief that I could, I didn't really think that it was possible. I'd never seen anything like it. Didn't have any history to draw from, but I decided to believe what Vinny was telling me. I decided, well, Vinny's been doing this for a long time, and Vinny, he liked me. He had kind of taken me under his wing, and he was mentoring me. And even though I didn't really think it was possible, he had showed me this back of the napkin math. And I thought, well, maybe there's something to this. Maybe Vinny knows something I don't know. And so I had exactly 15 days to sell 15 more cars. At that point in the month, I had only sold 5 cars. I was on track for my 10, 11 car month. And so I had 15 cars to sell in 15 days. And I can't even make this stuff up, guys, because I remember these numbers so vividly because this was such a stretch. This was something I had never considered, never knew possible, but I decided to commit to the goal. And that's the first piece I really want to talk about. It's the second word in our day, right? It's mindset. You guys, that once you set it, you need to not unset it, reset it, right? Wobble, no waffling. Once you commit. Commit means commit. Commit means decide. Commit doesn't mean decide one day and then decide something different the next day, right? Commitment is long obedience in the same direction. So if you need to suspend your disbelief for the next 90 days, and this is something we talked about yesterday, and you need to borrow from my belief, I believe that you can do more in the next 90 days than you ever thought possible in your business. I know you can. I know that you can do what you don't even think is possible in the next 30 days. In fact, Vinny opened my mind up to the idea that I could even do that in 15 days. So 90 days is a freaking luxury. And sometimes, compressing the results actually creates more momentum, more mojo, which is part of the thought process behind a sprint mentality, right? And so we talked about this book, Up Level, which talks about the 90-day sprints, because I really believe in building my business and working towards my life goals in sprints. And the reason I do that is I create artificial compression of my energy with a narrow focus, right? With a filtered commitment. 3 targets, 90 days, 3 legs, 30 days each, because I know that if I do that and I narrow the window, I can create more momentum in that narrow window than I can by doing 365 24/7. That just doesn't work for me. It dilutes all my energy and I just get exhausted. And honestly, I realized later in my life, I also get bored. I like challenge. My brain thrives on figuring stuff out. And so I also get bored doing the same thing day in, day out. I just get bored. And so I didn't realize later, until later in my life, that some of this sprinting comes because I need to create my own level of challenge because the world out here is not creating it for me. Right? We're no longer on a school calendar. I was talking to this about my American Marketing Association chapter here in Wilmington, North Carolina, the other day. When I got off the school calendar, I was like, wait a minute. I graduated from college. There's no starts and stops in the business world. It's just like keep going. It was mind-boggling to me because I was so used to the rhythm of a school year, right? You have breaks, you have the end of the year, you have the beginning of the year, you have a summer break in between. And so what I essentially did by writing Up Level and years before this, just working my own energy in this way, I didn't really realize that was a thing until I noticed myself doing it year after year. And then I decided to write a book about it because I was like, well, maybe other people are like me and maybe they need stops and starts too. I have a tremendous amount of energy for that compressed production period. It creates efficiency, but it also gets me to think bigger, right? So I want to challenge you to decide. That's really, really important today. Whatever targets you set out crafting, whatever motion you put into play yesterday, decide that that's going to be the way for 90 days. And you're going to put it all out on the road and you're going to go all in. You're going to play 100% for these 90 days in 30-day legs for you. And not just for you, reel it back to your why. And, I talked yesterday, my family is my number one why. It really is, because I love having time and financial freedom to do things with and for my family. But I realize that there's another why behind it that's super important to me, and it's also about them. It's my team. It's my community. I don't want to let them down, right? I don't want to let them down. And so part of that commitment is to understanding that the reason that you're fired up and you're doing these things, it's actually not really about you, is it? When I sat down with that back of the napkin math, that number, it wasn't about buying new furniture or new TV or like taking a vacation to the Bahamas. The reason I was so fired up about that was because I was doing it for my kids. I was doing it for their financial future. I was paying off that student loan so that my family didn't live under the burden of debt. Right? And that fired me up. That was life changing. And so even then, it wasn't about me. So I'm going to challenge you to not only to commit, but to consider that your sales goals and your sales targets are actually not about you. There's a reason behind it, and you have to tap into the higher motive. Appeal to your higher motives, because if you do, you're going to be able to overcome every speed bump and every wall kicking moment. Now, I could tell you the story of those 15 days and how that played out. But immediately when I committed to that goal, I'll give you the short version. I had to start thinking out of the box, because I knew that what I was normally doing was going to get me to 11 cars, but it was not going to get me to 20. And so I had to think outside the box of how could I cast a wider net in a shorter amount of time. And so that led to things like, well, I'm going to tell all my friends and family about my goal. I'm going to share it with all kinds of people. I'm going to show up at the lot on Sundays when it's closed. Tire kickers come out after church and look in the windows. And I'm going to set appointments so that on Monday I can show them cars. And I did all those things. And all those things, all those little 1% tweaks added up to selling exactly 15 cars in 15 days at literally what was to the dealership the stroke of midnight, 20 minutes after closing, striking the very last sale. I kept them late that day. But I was so determined. And so my commitment, what I said to myself is, well, if I don't go all in, if I don't try all the way to the end, then after this is over, I'm going to say, well, I probably could have done this, or this. And I just wanted to eliminate all those questions. I didn't want to get to the end of it with any woulda, shoulda, couldas. And I was just going to go all in, because it was literally, it was an experiment, really. But it was so exciting to think about what I could accomplish for my family in that short amount of time if I possibly were to reach for that height. So I want to challenge you, when you're setting your physical target, which is really important because you're getting into motion, you're setting your financial target. I want you to really think about that target, and I want it to be compelling to you. It's not just a number on a piece of paper. It's not just, well, I want to make 20 sales because I always make 20 sales. Probably your goal is too small. So you probably, sorry, I have something in my eye. You probably need to take that goal and you probably need to triple it. You probably need to take that goal and you need to triple it, because if you do that, you're going to ask yourself different questions and you're going to arrive at different solutions. You're going to have to think outside the box, because it won't be business as usual. Part of the sprint methodology is thinking outside of the business as usual way of thinking, right? For most people, they don't do this for themselves. They don't set compressed, time constrained goals and targets. They set targets and they give themselves an unlimited amount of time, or they don't set targets at all. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I don't like to set goals because I just get disappointed. Oh, okay. Well, that's one way to be 100% sure you're going to be disappointed pretty much all the time. So that doesn't really work for me. But So I like, to encourage you to really think about setting your mind to play 100%. Not that you're so attached to the target, that you're so attached to the journey, right? That you're so attached to the journey that you're going to show up for yourself. So, this sprint literally kicks off in March, ends in middle of June. And so the first 30 days, I want you to go all in for yourself and set up those targets, put it on your calendar, and decide that you're going to go all in for your why. And then outside of it, if it's not about you in the first place, make it about them, not just the people you're doing it for, your family, your team, but what about the people that you're there to serve? You guys, all those people that we talked about at the beginning of this call, right? If you're a business broker, if you're in construction, if you're in home services, if you're in healthcare, you're in your profession because you have people to help. You have people to serve, right? Which was the very thing that started to fire me up when I realized that selling was really about serving and really about sharing. If you can make that connection for yourself really vivid and compelling, then you'll realize that the people that you're there to serve, they're looking for you. They're looking for your solution. They're looking for your service. They're looking for your product to solve that problem or challenge in their life that no one else can do the way you can do. And if you don't cast a wider net to tell them what you bring into the marketplace, where are they going to find that? Right? Are they just going to continue, like in my example, are they just going to continue to be business owners spinning, having sales rest all on their shoulder, being on the revenue roller coaster and just waking up in the middle of the night dreading the next payroll? That gets me up at night going, oh my gosh, I want to help people get off the revenue roller coaster and get out of stress mode. Right? That's compelling to me. So who is it that you need to serve? Who is it that you're on this planet to serve and to help? And make it about them. Maybe it was never about you in the first place. Maybe in the beginning it had to be about you so that you would really double down on becoming an expert at what you do and own your profession, right? So that you could really become an expert. But now it's time to flip the script. And now that you really have skills, really have tools, really have products and services defined, and sure, we can always get better. We're always learning. Now it's time to flip the script and cast a wider net so you can help more people. Because honestly, I want you to be in that 9% of business owners that get over the 7-figure mark and beyond. Or in that over 5% of women-owned businesses that get over that 7-figure mark and beyond. Because I know that if you do that, you're going to double your impact, triple your impact, quadruple your impact. And that is super exciting. Because at the end of the day, if you widen your contribution and your impact, you are going to increase top line revenue and bottom line profitability. You'll employ more people and give them livelihoods, which is super amazing, right? 86% of the jobs in this country come from small business America. So you're really in a cherished position, but you got to get your head in the game. And you have to find a system. If it's not this sprint methodology, that's fine. But find a system that works for you. If you're a 365, 24/7 person, great. My hat is off to you because you know something that I don't know how to do, which is to maintain that fire day in and day out. And I wish that I knew how to do that, but that's not my way. So you have to find your way. And I think that there are people that are just geared for maintaining, and there are people that are geared for the spits and the spurts, for the starts. And they have a tremendous amount of initiative and proactivity at the front end of things, and they really help get things off the ground. My husband and I are great yin yang. We're a great partnership because he is so good at the steady, consistent action. And I have so much energy for the art of the start that these are two beautiful energies together, right? And I'm so grateful for that complementary pair that we bring to our business, because there's many times when I get off the ground, all guns firing, and then I get tired because that takes a lot of energy, right? 75% of the rocket fuel is used in liftoff. Well, then you're left, sometimes I'm left sputtering. And then he comes alongside me, steady, 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 and says, "I'll help you." And that's amazing. That's magical. And so, we're here to do it together. And I'm here to just open your mind up to a different way, right? Than maybe you've done it in the past. So, this morning is going so fast. So, setting your mind, that mindset piece, you're not trying it on for size, you're committing to what your plan is going to be, to what your targets are, and consider the possibility that when you set your financial target, you triple it so that it gets you to think even bigger. And then the mental game piece, I really want to challenge you to focus on the word game. It's such a big trend these days to like gamify everything, all the rewards programs and the loyalty programs, and we get little tokens and we get, special emojis. But what they're really playing up to is that, at the end of the day, we're all kind of children at heart, and we need levity. Some of what brings energy to things is fun. And maybe, like I did in that 15-day extravaganza of selling cars, I went into it with a curious mindset. It's like, is this possible, what Vinny's suggesting? And it was a little bit of the curiosity factor made it feel a little bit like an experiment, like play. And so I want you to encourage yourself to bring some of the gamification of this into play. And that's where I think the legs come into play. I give myself little stickers on my planner, super old school, little stars, little hearts for the things, lead measures that I want to reward myself for. So every time I do a workout and stay in motion, I give myself a little star. And every time I do my sales calls or, I do my videos, I give myself a little heart. And that seems super basic, but for me, it makes it fun and it gives me a little lift. And so whatever that is for you, I would, encourage you to treat a little bit of it like a game. What could you accomplish in the next 90 days? What if I ... What if I tripled my target? What if I cast a wider net? What if I made it about them? And here's the other thing, guys. The greatest source of your power in this is your love. Your love for your clients, your customers, and your patients. Your love for your team. Your love for your family. Your love for your community. That is the greatest source of your power. If you can tap into that love energy and really love on people throughout this journey and make it fun for yourself, in effect, you're really doubling back and you're extending that love to yourself, because you're giving yourself the gift of levity and you're giving yourself the gift of tapping into the highest source of your energy so that it doesn't all feel like such a slugfest. Have you lost sight of the love in the sales process? Has sales become a grind because it really isn't about service? It really isn't about sharing. It's about some number on a piece of paper that you are hitting or aren't hitting. That's where you lose all of your traction, right? So I really want to encourage you to get back to the highest source of your power in this process and tap in to what you're really here to do and who you're really here to serve. If you do that, you can't lose. You can't lose, because at the end of 90 days, if you play all the way out, well, one, I already know that you're going to create more impact and ripple effect than you even think possible. And yes, maybe you'll hit that exact target or maybe you won't. That actually won't be the testament of whether it worked, right? It'll be the momentum, the wave of energy that you create and the ripple effect, the people that pick up on your energy and feel lift because of you. You won't be complaining about the weather. You won't be complaining about politics. You won't be complaining about the economic state of the day because you'll be creating your own economy. You'll be so focused on your 90-day sprint that other people will pick up on that wave of energy and be like, I don't know what she or he's eating for breakfast, but I want some of that focus, right? You're going to stand out. You're going to up level. You're not just going to up level yourself and your team and your business. You're going to up level the people around you because they're going to feel your energy and that lift, and you're going to encourage them. And you're going to encourage them to ask a different set of questions, maybe that what if I question, and open their mind up to something that they didn't really think was possible. It's never too late. And if you fall off on day 12 and you lose your focus, then you wake up on day 13 and you start again. That's the mindset of commitment, right? All in, all the way, 90 days, all the way to the end. And so that mental game, that mindset piece is so, so important. So if you haven't gone back, and started this from the beginning or gotten into motion yet, I put my physical target on a piece of paper. I wrote down my financial target and my other, and I made it bigger so that I would challenge myself to think out of the box. And then I started taking action on my physical target, and I started mapping out my plan for really getting into motion. And that was actually a hard one for me because I've signed up for a sprint triathlon 2 years in a row, and I haven't shown up. I haven't done all the preparation. I got covered up with some of the other targets. Sometimes in these 3 targets, one kind of takes precedent, and the wave of activity that comes from the financial target kind of takes over. And sometimes it's the physical target, and you're training for the marathon, or you're whatever it is, and it's hard to keep all those things going. Hey, Kelly, all in. Yeah. I'm so glad you're here. Love you. But this time I decided to commit differently. Commit. And yeah, I'm going to do the swimming. I'm going to do the biking. I'm going to do the running because it's been on my list for years, and I need to just go all in on that commitment. And so I know right there, that's going to take me a tremendous amount of learning because I'm scared of many of those things that are attached to that goal. And that's why I've kind of set it and then veered away from it a little bit. But I'm committed on a different level because I have a quote on our wall upstairs. We have a loft that has some fitness equipment. It says, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. And that is so, so true. So we have a fitness challenge kicking off here at the Diamond Group next week. And I'm going to go all in on that commitment. So Kelly, here's a heads up. We hadn't talked about it, but I'm going to train for that sprint triathlon in the fall. And I don't know. I think I'm going to have to buy a good bike. So be prepared. Mama needs a road bike, apparently. So I'm excited about that. But I know that physical energy and committing to my physical energy and doing what it takes to take care of myself is going to give me fuel. It's going to give me the biochemical response that I need, the dopamine, the serotonin, the happy hormones to feed into this confidence and this commitment and this chutzpah and this courage that I need to assert myself in the marketplace to accomplish my revenue targets, right? So it all works together for good. There is a method to the madness, and I really want to encourage you to see all these 5 days out to the end, because we start with motion, we go to the mental game and mindset. Tomorrow we're going to talk about mojo, and we're going to talk about money, and then we're going to talk about momentum at the end of the week. So thank you so much for tuning in today. You guys, thank you for showing up for yourself. I'm glad you're all in, Kelly and others out there. And I got some really great feedback yesterday and saw some people jumping in. And like I said yesterday, I don't know what's going to come out of it. Some of it is the curiosity factor, right? It's like, I'm committed to showing up for you because I recognize the same thing that I'm telling you. It's not really about me. It's about what can you create in 90 days? What's the ripple effect from that? Who are you here to serve? And how can I help you connect with more of those people? And that at the end of the day, that's where all the magic is. And so I'm excited to hear about what comes out of it for you and who you touch and impact and how you contribute. And I know that when we do that for each other, with each other, we can't lose. So thank you so much for tuning in for day number 2 of the JumpStart Sales Challenge. And remember, it's not about you, it's about them. And remember that sales is just about service and sharing. And keep that at the heart of everything that you do here today. So I can't wait to come back and talk about Mojo tomorrow. And I already have a feeling, well, I already know. I already know some of you are experiencing new Mojo. So I'm excited to see the ripple effect from that. Have a great day. Have a wonderful Tuesday, Team Tuesday. And go out there and